Mimi nataka niwahakikishie
President William Ruto's administration is urging the Western countries to impose sanctions such as a travel ban on opposition leader Raila Odinga due to his calls for mass action and rejection of his election victory.
Mwambie wache maandamano. Sisi tunaelewana? Si uchaguzi iliisha? Si uchaguzi iliisha? Si nyinyi mulipiga kura? Si mukaamua? Nyinyi ndio kuamua ama ni yule mtu tunaambiwa ati ni ule mtu anaitwa nani? Ati anatuambia ati kuna mtu anaitwa whistleblower. Ati yeye ndiye anaamua nani ni kiongozi kwa Kenya.
Kwa hivyo tumesema hii ushahidi ambayo imetoka ni ushahidi mkubwa sana. Sio tu kwa hii uchaguzi iliyopita, lakini kwa ile uchaguzi ambayo inakuja. Tusiporekebisha yale ambayo yalifanyika mwaka jana, hata mwaka 2027 utarudia yale namna hiyo. Kutakuwa na haja gani Bwana Kalonzo kusimama, au Wajakoya, au Martha, au Eugene, au mtu yote kusimama kama hakuna uwezekano ya wao kushinda? Hata ukishinda wanatangaza mtu mwingine bandia. Hao nchi zingine ambao wanasema ni demokrasia, hao yote wakati huu wameangalia pande nyingine. Kwao haiwezi kufanyika, lakini hapa wanasema ni sawa sawa. Tumewaambia hao nchi zingine waacheni wa Kenya wasuluhishe mambo yao kama wa Kenya. Tusifundishwe mambo ya demokrasia na Uingereza au Marekani au India au Japani au Australia. Sisi ni wa Kenya na tunaweza kusuluhisha shida zetu kama wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo hakuna haja ya Bwana Ruto kwenda kule Ujerumani kuongea juu ya mambo ya Raila si nini hapa. Tuongee hapa Kenya. Fungua sava. Tuone kitu gani iko ndani ya sava. Tatu, tumesema usiunde tume ya uchaguzi bila sisi kukua pande hiyo. Mpaka sisi tushirikishwe kwa hii harakati ya kuunda tume ya uchaguzi mpya.
According to the Nation, members of parliament and politicians aligned with the Kenya Kwanza administration have disclosed a series of measures they would like the United States, United Kingdom, and other Western nations to take against Mr. Odinga, whom they claim is destabilizing the government. Previously, comparable travel and economic limitations have proven to be effective in persuading political hardliners who fear losing their access to the overseas investments and advanced healthcare. In order to prevent Mr. Odinga from carrying out his plans to force the President Ruto out of office, the government desires that he be prohibited from traveling to friendly Western nations. In the past, Mr. Odinga has organized large-scale protests that have halted economic activity and resulted in loss of life.
Sasa wameitisha mimi ati yo jamani, watu ambao wanapenda mambo ya kufanya maandamano, ati wanataka handshake sijui nini. Nasema hapa leo sitaki mambo ya handshake.
These protests have led to sitting governments entering into power-sharing negotiations, making concessions to policy and legal reforms, and opening up opportunities for negotiated political solutions. The recent increase in hostility coincides with the reports from diplomatic sources suggesting that Dr. Ruto was responsible for the dismissal of the Azimio leader's role in the African Union. This is part of a larger plan by the president to politically limit the former prime minister's power. According to National Assembly Deputy Majority Leader Owen Baya, a respected Democrat like Raila Odinga can lose the international community's respect if he continues to instigate civil strife in his country. According to The Nation, Mr. Baya compares Odinga's potential downfall to that of Robert Mugabe, who was once a respected Democrat but lost that status when he began undermining the democratic principles. If Mr. Odinga behaves like a rebel, Mr. Baya suggests that the international community may impose sanctions on him. In order to counter Mr. Odinga, his main opponent in the highly charged 2022 succession race, Dr. Ruto has initiated various strategies. These strategies include offering government jobs to some of Odinga's staunchest critics in his strongholds, buying out his MPs, and encouraging defections from Azimio. According to a lawmaker aligned with Dr. Ruto, the plan is to use both diplomatic and constitutional means to address Mr. Odinga's actions, which he likens to those of the rebels trying to create civil strife. The MP also suggests that Mr. Odinga be stripped of certain privileges he currently enjoys both locally and internationally. Due to his former office, such as access to VIP lounges at airports, he considers that Mr. Odinga's statement about reclaiming what he says is a stolen victory as risky and believes it should not be ignored by the international community. Against Dr. Ruto's administration, Mr. Koech notes that the international community has many interests in Kenya and may isolate Mr. Odinga if he continues to use unrest. According to Nelson Koech, Mr. Odinga's refusal to recognize Dr. Ruto's administration, he believes that Mr. Odinga's pursuit of what he calls selfish interests may result in isolation by his allies.
Wale jamaa wanasema wana Azimio ati ni anarchist. Na sisi tunataka kuharibu mali ya watu. Hapana. Wanatumia sisi polisi kuleta tear gas. Lakini sisi hatujali.
Senator Samson Cherargei from Nandi holds the view that Mr. Odinga's mass actions is intended to incite the public against illegitimate government. He suggests that Mr. Odinga should lose certain privileges he currently enjoys because of his efforts to undermine the authority of the current administration. However, Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Alfred Mutua has stated that there are no current plans to ban Mr. Odinga from traveling to Western countries. According to him, the government is not interested in engaging Mr. Odinga's unending political theatrics. Professor Mashere Munene, who is an expert in history and international relations, has stated that it is common for the government to request sanctions against people who they perceive as problematic. He believes that while the governments often make such requests, they may be rejected or accepted depending on various factors. But Azimio leaders have expressed confidence that the planned mass protests for sanctions against Mr. Odinga are unfounded. They argue that any Western country that agrees to such requests will only confirm their suspicion that the Kenya Kwanza administration rigged the election. National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi has described Mr. Odinga as an institution, warning that those seeking to manage him through blackmail will be in for a road shock.
Nipigwe teke sita.